Welcome to video number 10, this problem workout number 25 on your whiteboard PowerPoint practice. So in this problem, it gives me that the ends of a diameter of a circle are -18,3 and -12, -5. And it wants me to find the equation of the circle in standard form. So again, recall that the equation in standard form is the quantity x minus h squared plus the quantity y minus k squared equals r squared. And if you'd like, I encourage you to pause the video and see what you can work out on your own and then hit play to see if your answers were correct. Okay, now my advice here when you don't kind of really know what to do and you're given something that's unknown is I would probably graph these points or just draw a rough sketch of what they look like. And the graph doesn't have to be perfect at all, but it could just give us some insight into what the problem might look like. So again, I'm just gonna do like a very, very quick rough sketch. So -18,3, this is not to scale, but it just kind of gives me an idea. And then let's say -12, -5. All right, so imagine these points were on a coordinate plane and we know these points are the ends of a diameter, okay? Which means that the center of the circle is some mystery point here, exactly in the middle or equidistant between these two endpoints. So because I'm a geometry teacher, my first thought is, hey, isn't this really just like finding the midpoint, right? Isn't the center of a circle really just the midpoint between two endpoints, right? If this is the diameter, this is the middle of the circle. So I think the easiest way to solve this problem is to say, well, what's the center of the circle? Okay, because then I can plug that in for h and k. All right, now let's think common sense, right? The x value has to be halfway in between -18 and -12, okay? And so let's think about what makes the most sense. It looks like -15 will work, okay? Think about -15, right? It's exactly 3 units away from -12 and 3 units away from -18. You might be thinking, well, how'd you know that, Mrs. Bailey? Like, I don't remember doing that kind of work in geometry. Well, recall there's also a formula. Let me write it down here. x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2 to get me a midpoint in geometry, right? So all I did was add the two x values. -18 plus -12 is -30 divided by 2 is -15. So if it's not immediately obvious what these values are, you can go ahead and use this formula. Now I'm going to apply the same logic to the y values. What number is exactly between +3 and -5? You can either use the formula or common sense to figure out that that value is -1. -1 is exactly 4 units from +3, and it's also 4 units from -5. So now I know that the HK values have been found. So I'm going to plug this into my formula. So it's x minus a -15, so x plus 15 squared, plus the quantity y minus a -1, so y plus 1 squared equals r squared. And all we have to do is solve for r. Now, what I like to do is think of r as the hypotenuse of a right triangle. So what I would do here is draw sort of an imaginary right triangle below, and you can do that here or here. And let's think about the side lengths, right? How do I go from -15 to -18? Isn't it true that in the x direction, this is a distance of 3? And the sign doesn't matter because I just want the distance, right? So -15 to -18. And then here, how do I go from a y value of -1 to 3? That's a distance of 4. And if you know your Pythagorean triples or use the Pythagorean theorem, this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. The radius is 5, which means r squared is going to be 25. So my final answer is the quantity x plus 15 squared plus the quantity y plus 1 squared equals 25.